All right, with that, let's go ahead and get started. So here is an overview for this grants webinar. We'll be going over a quick summary of the grant programs, going over eligibility, available funding, process and timeline, specific eligibility requirements for the different programs, like Carl Moyer program, Farmer, Community Air Protection Program, or CAP, the Goods Movement Program, or GMERP Prop 1B. We'll go over grant evaluations. Action items to take. So action items to take. Useful resources and websites. And finally, we'll go over how to use our online application. So here's a summary. Our grant program is currently open and taking applications. The program closes on Friday, December 4th, 2020 at 5 p.m. Our grant programs operate on a reimbursement basis. And this program requires surplus emission reductions. And generally what this means is your fleet and equipment must be in compliance and must meet the compliance standards 3 years from now, and with the exception of on-road vehicles, so vehicles on highways. Basically, our grant programs fund projects that are looking to get even further ahead of the compliance curve, so to speak. Replacement equipment should have the cleanest engines available. For example, if you're replacing an off-road equipment, the replacement equipment should have an engine that's a Tier 4 final diesel or an electric. The program is designed to replace equipment like for like. For example, a 50 horsepower tractor must be replaced with a newer tractor around 50 horsepower. Finally, the existing or baseline equipment must be scrapped as part of our grant programs. Here are some of the eligible equipment types. Marine vessels like tugboats, commercial sport fishing boats, agricultural electric utility terrain vehicles, or UTVs or side-by-sides, off-road tractors and other agricultural equipment that's 25 horsepower or greater, on-road heavy-duty trucks greater than 14,000 pounds gross vehicle weight rating, or GVWR, electric school buses, and other public school projects. Also, other eligible equipment types include locomotives, construction equipment like excavators, dozers, backhoes, industrial equipment like forklifts, and finally, infrastructure projects like electric ag pumps or the installation of an electric charging station. So our Clean Air for All program encompasses several different pots of money. So we have Moyer, Moyer program And this program is so all the previous equipment that was described on the past two slides are eligible for MOIR, and this includes agricultural equipment. And we have $5.5 million available in that program, or that pot of money. With Farmer, we have $500,000, and this is specifically only for agricultural equipment. CAP, or the Community Air Protection Program, we have $16 million, and this is dedicated for state designated disadvantaged or low income communities, so projects that affect those communities. And GMERP, the Goods Movement Emission Reduction Program, we have $4.3 million available there, and this will be covering heavy-duty diesel vehicles that move goods a majority of the time. And one thing that we don't have mentioned here is we will be running a voucher incentive program for on-road vehicles next year. We have about 690,000 available there, and we're looking to potentially open Q1 or Q2 of next year, 2021. This is the same slide here, so let's move on. So this is a map of the state designated disadvantaged and low income communities. This map is available on the state's website, and we have a link posted at the end of the slides, so you could type in your address and see if your project is located in communities. So it's a little hard to see here, but the pink or striped pink locations are disadvantaged communities, and approximately 70% of the CAP funding should be spent here. And then highlighted in blue is the low income communities, where another 10% of the CAP funding should be spent. Here's a table of the maximum grant funding available per project. So for off-road equipment like tractors or loaders, to replace it, we can fund up to 80% of the eligible costs to purchase the replacement. For ag UTVs, the electric replacement, 75% of eligible costs. Infrastructure projects like charging and alternative fueling stations, like CNG, and also electrical ag pump electrification, that is 65%. On-road trucks greater than 14,000 pounds, GVWR, up to 80%, or up to 200,000 for GMERP eligible trucks. And for more information, or more specific information, we have a couple of links there, and we've also posted links at the end of our slides to the notice of funding availabilities on our web pages. Just continuing on with marine vessels, for repowers is up to 85%. Locomotives, up to 85%. Zero emission school buses, up to 100%. Public school projects, up to 100% as well. And we'll go over all these different projects in the slides that are coming. So here's a little quick run through on the grant process, or the timeline. So first step here is you want to submit an online application. Once again, the deadline is Friday, December 4th, 2020 at 5 p.m. The next step, the APCD or the district will review and rank applications. And based on the rank list, we'll enter contracts with those companies or organizations. And depending on the volume of applicants, this process may take up to a year from application submittal. Next step here is once you are contracted, you go ahead and buy the new equipment. When you receive it, then you go ahead and scrap the old equipment. And then you submit some reimbursement documents, and we'll reimburse you with a check for the grant funding. And the last step here is annual status reports that you have to submit to us for the life of the contract. It's usually a one-pager where you just list the new equipment's annual usage, whether this is hours operated or if you have an on-road truck, miles traveled. Here's a broad summary of the minimum eligibility requirements for our programs. So the equipment must operate at least 75% in California and also 50% in San Diego County. Requirements may vary for goods movement on-road heavy-duty vehicles. And then we're expecting replacement equipment to be operational by May 31st, 2022. Operational deadlines for on-road heavy-duty vehicles may vary. And you must have owned the existing equipment for at least 24 months prior to applying. Finally, your fleet and or your organization must be in compliance with all applicable air quality regulations. This includes all diesel equipment, portable, stationary, and mobile. So here we'll be going over clean air for all off-road eligibility. This off-road eligibility is dependent on the fleet. So fleet requirements are dependent on the fleet size and their regulatory compliance. Generally, agricultural and small fleets are still eligible for diesel Tier 4 final replacement equipment, whereas large and medium non-agricultural fleets must be compliant with the final 2023 off-road fleet standard to be eligible. However, if you're purchasing a replacement zero-emission equipment, all fleet sizes are eligible. Now we're going to talk a little bit about farmer, so off-road agricultural equipment eligibility. There are additional farmer requirements for replacement agricultural electric UTVs or side-by-sides. The existing UTV or ATV must be gas or diesel powered. And new UTVs must be electric and have a towing capacity of 500 pounds or more. And the total vehicle weight or the curbside weight must be 700 pounds or more. Also, the UTV must have a 1-year drivetrain warranty. Now we'll talk a little bit about clean air for all on-road eligibility. The vehicle must be class 4 through 8, so that's a gross vehicle weight rating of 14,001 pounds or more. Must have at least 1 year of surplus compliance with applicable California Air Resources Board rules or CARB rules. So this includes CARB regulations like the truck and bus rule, regulations for drayage, trucks, solid waste collection vehicles, etc. So as an example, if your truck is compliant with the truck and bus rule through 1/1/2022, then your vehicle is eligible this year because 2021 will be an entire year of surplus compliance. These trucks must have proof of vehicle ownership and California registration for the past 2 years. And fleets with more than 10 vehicles must replace their vehicles with low NOx, either CNG or some alternative fuel, or zero emission vehicles. Now, talking about the goods movement eligibility, the existing vehicle must move goods at least 50% of the time, must be class 5 through 8. So that's a gross vehicle weight rating of 16,001 pounds or more. Must operate at least 10% of the time in the San Diego border trade corridor. And I'll show you a map of this in the next slide. And also within the past 2 years, the minimum annual California miles traveled are as indicated. So if you have a class 5 or 6 truck, you must have traveled a minimum of 10,000 miles each year. If you have a class 7 or 8, you must have traveled at least 20,000 miles each year. So here is the map of the 4 GMERP or Prop 1B trade corridors. In pink, we have the Bay Area. Green is Central Valley. Orange is Los Angeles in the Inland Empire. And finally, yellow here is the San Diego border corridor, which includes Imperial County. Just a few more on-road eligibility requirements here. So for GMERP, the replacement vehicles must meet the low NOx standard. This is CNG, zero emission, hybrid capable of zero emission miles. Also, hybrid or conventional CNG may be eligible as well. You would just have to double check. And the replacement vehicles must commit to operate at least 90% within California and 50% within the 4 trade corridors. So just gonna go over the Clean Air for All eligibility requirements for marine engine repowers. Just as a side note, CARB has proposed some draft amendments to the commercial hovercraft regulation. So this may be a prime opportunity to apply for grants now before those come into effect. So here are the main eligibility criteria for grant funding. The existing engines must be 25 horsepower or 19 kilowatts or greater. Fleets and/or owners must be in compliance with the commercial hovercraft regulation, if this applies. And replacement engines must be Tier 3 or Tier 4 marine or cleaner. Now we'll go over Clean Air for All locomotive eligibilities. Eligible project types must upgrade to Tier 4 engines. Here are some of the eligible project types: locomotive replacement, locomotive engine repower, and head end power unit, or HEP, repower. We'll quickly talk a little bit about infrastructure eligibility for the Clean Air for All program. With the exception of light-duty vehicles or passenger vehicles, the infrastructure project must support equipment or vehicles that are covered in the 2017 MOIR guidelines. For example, charging infrastructure for electric heavy-duty trucks is eligible because it is covered in the MOIR guidelines. Applicable projects include non-residential charging and alternative fueling stations like hydrogen and natural gas, stationary irrigation agricultural pump electrification, and marine shoreside electrification. Now let's talk a little bit about CAP, or the CAP, school or stationary projects eligibility. And this is the Clean Air Protection Program. So these projects focused on state-designated disadvantaged and low-income communities. So eligible projects include stationary sources of air pollution, but these must be approved by CARB on a case-by-case basis, and this may lengthen project timelines. Also, school projects in CAP communities can replace air filtration systems or air filters, composite wood furniture, and lawn and garden equipment. So we'll go into those 3 criteria a little more in detail here. So for zero emission lawn and garden equipment, the grant funding may fund up to 70% of the purchase price. And this includes trimmers, walk-behind mowers, ride-on mowers. And for composite wood products that are NAF certified, those can be reimbursed for up to 100% of the costs. And then also for ULEF certified wood products, those can be eligible for up to 90% reimbursement. And for these composite wood products, we're talking about tables, desks, countertops, chairs, and storage cabinets. And for air filters, up to 100% of the costs may be reimbursed. And for standalone filtration systems, 90% of the costs may be reimbursed. There's some further evaluation criteria for the Clean Air for All program. Generally speaking, there will be a focus on projects located in and directly affecting disadvantaged and low-income communities, otherwise known as environmental justice communities or EJ. So for the Carl Moyer guidelines, they require us to spend at least 50% of the funds in EJ, whereas for the Clean Air Protection Program, it requires at least 70% of the funds to be spent in disadvantaged communities. The district may prioritize zero emission projects. And finally, we will rank projects based on their cost effectiveness. So what this is it's the dollars that we spend on a project per ton of emission reduced. So generally, the lower this number is, the higher your project will rank. And the more hours or miles a project runs, and the older the existing or baseline engine is, the lower the cost effectiveness will be, and the higher your project will rank. I'm just gonna go over now the action items and what you need to do now. If you're on this webinar, you are probably already on our APCD email listserv, but just in case you aren't, go ahead and sign up to our grants listserv. There will be a link in the later slides. Number 2, create an ACA account for our online application if you don't have one already. We'll go over how to start an online application later in this presentation. Next step, step 3, we'll review preparing for an upcoming solicitation webpage, which will list more specific documents that you should be preparing while applying. And there will be a link in the later slides. Step 4, gather usage records for the past 24 months. For example, hour meter records or maintenance records displaying the odometer and/or hour meter readings. Step 5 is to prepare proof of ownership documentation showing ownership for at least the past 24 months. Ideally, this would be a bill of sale or a title. Step 5 here is to go ahead and gather vehicle and engine models, serials, horsepower information, and to go ahead and clean your labels for the engines and equipment so that we can see what the serial numbers and engine families look like. Because part of this year's application, and this is new for this year, we will be requiring photos of these labels as part of your application. And so we're trying to do this to help streamline the application review time. Next here, number 7 is to obtain vendor or dealer quotes for the proposed replacement equipment. And finally is to apply. You can start applying now and save your application progress as you go. Applications are due Friday, December 4th, 2020 at 5 p.m. All right, so now I'm just going to be going over the links, and after that, the how-to for online applications, and then we'll take questions. So here's the link to our listserv for future grant opportunities and notifications, and we can certainly post the slides so that you'll have these links available. However, if you do need them, we can certainly post them in the chat. So you want to go ahead and subscribe under air quality section, and it's air quality - grants and incentives. Here's our APC grants page. And I'll just list a bunch of different equipment types like heavy duty trucks, agriculture, off-road diesel, and you just click it and see which programs are open. Here's our homepage for the Clean Air for All. In this page, there's a flowchart to help you decide whether to apply your on-road vehicle through Clean Air for All or GMERP. This is a link to our GMERP website. This is for on-road heavy-duty diesel vehicles that move goods more than 50% of the time. We also, as I mentioned earlier, have more information about what documents to prepare. And so you go on this webpage and you say you have an on-road truck, you could click heavy duty trucks and it'll have a little list of the different documents to start preparing. Or as you go through the online application, you'll find out which documents you will need to upload. Okay, so this is our online application portal. Might be a little hard to see here, but that right circle in red is where you can go ahead and create your username and password. Or if you've forgotten your password, that's where you can get that password reset. And then on that left circle is one of the ways to actually start the application process. And you'll click under APCD. It says Get Air Quality Service. And that will take you to sign in and access our grants applications. And now we'll just kind of run through a quick step-by-step to do this. Okay, so you can go ahead and use your account username and password to log in right here. And what you want to do is you want to click at Home on the top left. Next, under the APCD heading below, you'll go ahead and click Get Air Quality Service. And there will be a disclaimer. Read the terms and accept the terms, and then go ahead and click Continue Application. And then it'll take you to this page where you want to scroll all the way down to the bottom and past this text. And once you've scrolled all the way to the bottom, you'll see the heading APCD Grants. At the bottom of the page, you'll click it. Once you click it, it'll drop down 8 different grant application types. First 2 are for on-road trucks or vehicles. This is for trucks, buses, and other vehicles greater than 14,000 pounds GVWR. And once again, there's a flowchart on our Clean Air for All page to help determine what on-road application is suitable for you. The rest of the application types should be fairly self-explanatory. If you're applying for a piece of equipment that isn't listed here, you may select the locomotive or other equipment bubble there. And finally, you just follow the steps on your particular applications. So a few additional online application instructions. One application is required per piece of existing or baseline equipment you are proposing to replace. And the exception is for 2-for-1 projects, where you submit one application but include details on both existing equipment. So, for example, let's say you have 3 tractors you want to replace. Each tractor requires its own application. You cannot apply for all 3 tractors in one application. On the other hand, if you wanted to replace 2 trucks with 1 replacement truck, you would select the 2-for-1 option in the application itself. And you would only need 1 application, but enter the information for both trucks in that one application. So basically, just if you have multiple applications or multiple equipment, just 1 application per equipment, unless it's a 2-for-1. Okay, we're almost at the end here. I've listed some more useful websites. So these are the CARB websites, California Air Resources Board. So they're the state agency that allocates grant funding to us so that we could provide it locally. Here are the web pages for Moyer, Farmer, and CAP. And these are great resources regarding off-road and on-road diesel equipment. If you have any questions, I think these are kind of catered towards compliance, but these are helpful resources. So the off-road zone and the truck stop. And this isn't related to our grant program, but just wanted to mention it. So HVIP, or the Hybrid and Zero Emission Truck and Bus Voucher Incentive Project, is run by the state, and its purpose is to fund new hybrid, zero emission, and natural gas vehicles. And according to their webpage, it says they're expected to reopen early 2021, so they'll be accepting applications then. And as part of this project, or as part of this program rather, there's no need to scrap an existing vehicle. However, HVIP funds cannot be co-funded or stacked with funding from our programs, and that's just unfortunately how the guidelines were written. Okay, so this is just a list of the contacts at the Air Pollution Control District here in San Diego. For the quickest response, you can email our general grants email address, just up at the top there. Everyone, well, since someone checks that email account every non-holiday weekday, that's probably the best way to get to us. So Clean Air Grants at SD, as in San Diego, county.ca.gov. And what you can do is you can contact us with any specific questions, or if you want to go through eligibility requirements, or if you need help with the online application process, we can definitely go ahead and help you. Email is the best for our team since we are all working remotely from home, but we do check our voicemail on work days, so you can feel free to leave a voicemail message and we should be getting back to you as well. So I'll go ahead and leave this slide up as we answer your questions. We'll go ahead and start with questions from the chat. And then we can take verbal questions for those who have their hands raised. And lastly, we can then open the floor to questions from those who have called in. So with that, Heidi, do we have any questions from the chat?
Yes, thanks, Ben. This is Heidi Gabriel Pack. We do have a couple questions in the chat. The first is from Robert Doty, asking about a skid steer has not been tracking usage hours and wondered, because now they learned they need to become compliant, do we need to track hours for 2 years first? Robert, I'm assuming that you're it's used in construction. And subject to construction requirements. Because if it was used on a farm, we would not have the same requirements. But yes, if you were informed that you are not in compliance already, you would not be able to apply for a grant, because the grant is reserved for people, or equipment rather, who are already in compliance with the regulation. So hopefully that answers your question. The next question is from Lori. She wants to know, if approved, how much time do we have to buy the replacement ATV? Generally, that's listed in the contracts that we would make with you, but generally the contracts give you at least 6 months to a year to replace that. But if you, and the contracts also specify that if you have, if you need additional time, you can contact your representative for the contract, and we can see if we can give you extra time. The next question is from Tom Gardner. He's asking, can you better explain what is goods movement and what heavy duty trucks qualify for the grant? Ben, can you go ahead and answer that question?
Sure, Heidi. So the flow chart on our webpage should have some information on that, but just in general, goods movement is defined by 1, being able to be moved, and then 2, whether it was moved as part of some kind of contract or purchase. So I think the one example that I like to use here is if, for example, you have bought a piece of furniture new from a furniture store, and that delivery truck moves that purchased furniture to your home, then that counts as goods movement. Whereas if you were moving from one home to another home and you had a mover truck and you stored it with all your used furniture, since there was no purchase or contract or sale of that good, because it's a used, it's just your old furniture, then that would not count towards goods movement. I hope that answers your question. Obviously, we can take your question more in detail offline, and once again, I'd like to refer you to the flow chart on our Clean Air for All webpage.
Okay, thanks, Ben. The next question is from Kareem, I think. Thank you, Ben and APCD. Okay, the question is, there's a wait list for funding. Will the projects on that wait list be prioritized automatically or not necessarily? The answer to that question is that this solicitation is for this new funding. So if you're on the wait list, then that would be the wait list for projects that were chosen in previous years. So my recommendation would be, if you're on the wait list, then to apply again this round. That way you can get on the, for evaluation for this year. The next question from Matt, is there a minimum travel requirement within APCD boundaries for GMERP? Ben, can you just double, I'm not as familiar with GMERP. Can you answer this question, please?
Yeah, so the question, Heidi, was minimum travel requirements within the San Diego.
San Diego. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me think here. Yes. So I believe we have the geographical requirements. So it should be 10%. 10% of your total travel or your total miles should be done here in San Diego or the border corridor, which includes Imperial County.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And it looks like one of our participants also put 10% in the chat. Thank you. So the next question is from Joseph. You indicated that the off-road equipment must meet the 2023 compliance standard. Does that mean if your equipment is in the DOORS program that you must meet the 2023 fleet average requirements now before you can apply for a grant? So I'm assuming, Joseph, that we're talking about, like a medium or a large fleet indoors. And Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the answer is yes, you would need to, unless you're going to a zero emission.
That's correct.
The next question is from Allison. For Moyer or GMERP, is there an annual hour operation requirement for locomotives or rail car movers? Well, and I'll try and take a stab at that, but anyone can correct me if I'm wrong. But so the annual hours would be based on the historical usage of the past 2 years. So whatever that would be what we would be expecting to see in the new equipment. Ben, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, so for Moyer, we can certainly double check this and get your contact information and talk more about this offline. but to my understanding for the Moyer guidelines, I don't believe there is a minimum usage requirement for the baseline equipment. Generally, the more miles you've traveled, the better your project ranks. However, I believe there is a minimum mileage for the baseline equipment for the GMERP program. I can't think of what those numbers are off the top of my head, but I believe that is the case. And also with rail car movers, yeah, I think there were some additional eligibility requirements. I can't think of them off the top of my head for rail car movers in general. So yeah, please contact us offline and then we could definitely talk about it some more.
Thanks, Ben. Okay, the next question is from Matt. Are natural gas engine platforms eligible for replacement under GMERP? Ben, can you provide the answer to that one, please?
Yeah, so I'm going to assume by platform we're talking about fueling station. I mean, if it's a fueling station, I have to double check the GMERP guidelines. There may be an avenue to go ahead and
okay. Sorry, Ben. He's clarifying. It says no natural gas engines. So I guess not the fueling station.
Oh, okay. So like a baseline natural gas engine or
yeah, because it's saying, are the natural gas engines eligible for replacement under GMERP?
Oh, okay, I see. So unfortunately not yet. So GMERP is specifically for goods movement and diesel, a baseline diesel equipment. So unfortunately not. If you have a baseline natural gas, it wouldn't be eligible for GMERP. Though you can certainly apply through the Moyer program, I believe.
Okay, thank you, and you're welcome, Matt. Allison's asking, is military equipment covered under these funding opportunities? The answer is yes, anyone can apply for these funding opportunities, meeting the same requirements as anyone else. As long as you're in compliance and can show usage and ownership, all that would have to be met. Okay, let's see. That's, I think, the end of the chat questions. Let me see if someone's hand raised. Okay, so Timothy, you have your hand raised. Did you want to unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we operate tow trucks. So
okay,
is that goods movement? Would that be considered goods movement, or would we have to go under the Moyer? Trying to figure out if it would be GMERP or Moyer since we're moving vehicles.
Yeah. So Ben, do you want to answer that? I don't think it would be.
Sure. Yeah. So I think it would depend on what kind of vehicles you're moving. Are these vehicles that are newly purchased vehicles, or are we towing, say, a vehicle that was, parked in the wrong spot and belongs to someone already?
Belongs to someone already. There would be many scenarios, either, parked in the wrong spot, the police impounded it, they wrecked the car, the car's broken down and needs to go back to the shop or dealer, those are most of the scenarios.
Okay. Yeah, if those are most of the scenarios, I would say the Moyer or the Clean Air for All program as opposed to the goods movement. Yeah, the goods movement. Yeah, I don't think the goods movement would be eligible here.
Okay. I have a couple more questions real quick. Do the forklifts have a weight size requirement, or are there any forklift?
I don't. I mean, I'd have to look at it. I believe it has an engine size requirement. I don't know that off the top of my head, but if we're looking at horsepower, definitely at least 25 or more horsepower. I don't think it has a size requirement, but we can certainly double check that.
Okay, and then we are having, our fleet is losing 3 trucks to the CARB requirements in 2021. Those trucks are not eligible for this, is that correct?
Yeah, if they have to be replaced by 1/1/2021, unfortunately, there wouldn't be enough surplus time. So no, we cannot help with that. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, so they won't re-register at when the registration goes out in 2021. Okay, but other trucks we can. We have a decent sized fleet. So, and then I think my last question might be a dumb one. The equipment on the truck does not have to be scrapped, just the cab and chassis, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So it's basically the chassis or the frame will have to be cut, and the engine will have to have a sizable hole in it. But if you have other sort of equipment, like for instance, like a box body, I mean, you could certainly move that to the replacement truck.
Okay. I think those were all of my questions. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome, Timothy. Okay, so let's call on Tom Gardner. I think you had another question. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, it's related to that question that just came in, and it has to do with the on-road diesel trucks. And the gentleman brought up the tow truck, but I don't think the tow truck would apply to either the goods movement or the car moiler, since it's not a commodity that is being. That's one of the things in even the car moiler, where you can't, if you had a truck that was taking equipment to and from a place, that wouldn't even apply. So that's why I asked about if there's been any changes to the on-road diesel grant abilities. You could have a truck that would be carrying equipment to a shipyard or in and around area that's owned, but from my understanding, that would not be able to be included currently.
So Tom, my understanding is you would not be able to use it for a GMERP grant, but you still would be able to apply for an on-road grant for that equipment. Ben, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, that's my understanding as well, Heidi.
But doesn't the car moiler say that it has to be a commodity?
No.
Okay, I thought we had read that. Okay.
Okay, but if you do find something in the guidelines, let us know, Tom.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, our next person with hands raised, Rick. Rick, do you want to ask a question?
I do. Thank you very much for doing this, by the way. This has been really, really helpful. I'm from the Borrego Water District. We're a public water agency. Mm-hmm. Are we eligible for this program?
Yes, just like anyone else. Okay. You would be eligible to apply.
Okay, now, so our situation is that our water supply system is.
What are they guarding?
Pardon me? Our water supply system is all electric pumps.
Fall into it. We need to get.
So let's see, Tom. Okay.
Who all's talking here?
Sorry, Rick. I think someone else was unmuted. So go ahead with your question, please.
Okay. We're the public water supply agency in Borrego Springs. Our water distribution system is all electric, but we have a group of aged diesel engines which are used as emergency backup.
Yes.
And we are required to test those engines once a month, which
Yes.
requires a permit from you guys. And some of those engines are old and are not in compliance. Would they be eligible for the program? And if so, which one?
So, Rick, you're talking about stationary engines?
Stationary engines, yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, unfortunately, this grant program would not, it requires that the engine's already been compliance. So you cannot have an engine that's out of compliance already and then get it into compliance by using a grant. The grant is really to reward people for already being in compliance with the current standards and then just kind of giving additional help to people who want to go above and beyond.
I see. Okay, so we would not be eligible to apply for those engines.
No.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. Timothy, did you have another question? Your hand is still raised. I'm just not sure if we answered all your questions.
No, I forgot to drop my hand. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. All right. Dixon Smith, did you have a question for us?
Yes, I do. I want to follow up on the question that was asked earlier on chat with respect to doors. And if you are tracking to compliance for 2020, I'm looking for clarification. You're tracking to compliance for 2023. So you obviously have a mix of tier 0s, 1, 2, 3, and 4s. Tracking towards compliance, you're reducing your emission percentage that you're supposed to meet each year, so you're in compliance. The way I heard you all answer the question earlier was, even if you're in compliance with doors, tracking towards final compliance in 2023, if one of your engines right now, let's say it's a tier 0, you're not eligible to apply for that engine, even though you are currently in compliance with the annual percent reduction of emissions. So you would have to then, what I think I hear you saying is then you have to say select a tier 2 or a tier 1 that's still in compliance, and that's what you would have to upgrade. But if you have a tier 0 in the program, even though you're still within compliance with the door program, you can't apply. I'm just looking for clarification of what you actually said.
Right. And just to clarify, you're talking about a medium or a large fleet, Dixon? Not a small fleet?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me check. Medium fleet.
Medium fleet. So your question is, you're a medium fleet, you're not yet in compliance with the 2023, and you're wondering if you can apply, right?
But we're in compliance with each year you have to reduce a percentage working towards final 2023 compliance. So we're currently in compliance this year, but we're not at the 2023 standard yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you haven't met the 2023 yet, but you're working, of course, toward that. And Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is you already, unless you're going to get a 0 emission replacement, you already would have to meet that 2023 fleet average for your entire fleet if you're medium or large. Is that right, Ben?
Yes, that's correct, Heidi, and that's just based on how the Moyer guideline was written.
Dixon, does that answer your question?
Unfortunately, I think so. I guess the only follow-up I want is, okay, so that takes any of our tier 0s out of the equation, got it. But could we apply for another engine within the doors program that is currently in compliance for a tier 4?
So, I mean,
take everything out. It takes us completely out of the equation for a Carl Moyer grant within the doors program.
Right. So, I mean, this is just essentially a math exercise in determining if you took out, how many of your tier 0s you would need to take out and how much horsepower that would, it's an averaging thing because the average has to. So you would just you could play with that. I understand on your doors account, you can kind of experiment with that and what it would take to get you to the 2023 standard. You can also call CARB and ask them, for help if you needed help on which pieces of equipment you would need to take out of service. But yes, if you were in compliance with the 2023 standard, yes, you could apply for a piece of equipment, any piece of equipment in your fleet.
Okay, I think I understand what you're saying. And there's a couple of chats coming in here, looked like back to me, and I'll read those here shortly. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Let's see, I think Ryan has a question. Ryan, do you want to unmute yourself?
Thank you. I work with school districts closely as far as power goes, being I'm an engine salesman. Is there any way you can give us some insight as to how school districts throughout San Diego County are notified, so that way I can make sure that the proper people in each district are notified that they can apply for funding?
Thanks for the question, Ryan. We notify people in many ways. One of the ways that gets the most people probably is through our listserv. So I know some school districts are already on our listserv, oftentimes we also have like media events. But yeah, that's the main way that we notify people is through our listserv, the email blast that we send out. Throughout the year when we get questions, we encourage people to apply or sign up for our email notification list. But definitely if you have contacts at the school districts, feel free to let them know too. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. I'm just making sure everybody gets notified because, a lot of times you end up with, people turning over a single name on an email list and not necessarily a group box or something like that. So I'm just making sure I'm espousing the right information when telling people to circle up with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. And they can also, if they have an email that's a general email address that maybe would be more permanent, I would encourage them to add that to the listserv too as well. So thanks for the question. Let's see. Not seeing any more hands raised. Let's do the chat just real quick. Okay. Let's see. I see a lot of questions here. Just trying to. For some reason, my screen is not letting me scroll up. Hang on 1 second. Okay, well, I'll go to the first one that I can see right now. The question is from Matt. Apologies if this is already covered. Can you cover the in-service dates for the 2007-2009 heavy-duty diesels under GMERP? And will the district allow for GMERP project delivery after 12/2021 if there is a manufacturer delay? Ben, I'm going to punt this over to you.
Yeah, okay, so 07, 09 in service, and whether or not they could take advantage of the manufacturer delay. That is a great question. I would have to look back. So basically that 12/2021 operational deadline is based on our GMERP grant agreement with CARB and when we have to liquidate those dollars. I don't know off the top of my head when we have to liquidate those dollars, but it would be sometime in 2021. But I don't remember whether it was in March or whether it was in June. So if it is in March, then we cannot extend that manufacturer's delay, because I believe the manufacturer's delay would go until May 1st. So I mean, I think it depends. Maybe we can go ahead and talk about this offline if you send me an email. But basically, it depends on when our liquidation deadline is, because we have to have enough time to go ahead and reimburse the dollars to you before our liquidation deadline. So I know that didn't really answer your question, but I would, yeah, just encourage you to drop me an email, and I can go over it with you some more.
Thanks, Ben. Okay, our next question is from Erica, asking, is there no program called the Heavy Duty Truck and Equipment Grant Program? This just refers to a combination of the 4 other programs. So
Heidi, if you like,
yes.
this is Kathy Kean from the program. I could try and answer that one if you like. Sure. That because we have so many programs running at the same time, we lumped them all together. And to avoid confusion, we tried to brand them as the Heavy Duty Truck and Equipment Grant Program or the Clean Air for All and GMERP programs. There's just one program for you all. There's one application process. We'll sort out the applications for the various programs, but for the programs that are happening today and from the email that you received, that Heavy Duty Truck and Equipment Grant Program, that's this. So I hope that clarifies it. Applications due by December 4th.
Thanks, Kathy. And our next question from Allison, what is the best way to find out if a project lies within the district's boundaries? Is there a map or zip code we can search by? So the district's boundaries are the entire county of San Diego. So you would just need to know if it lies within San Diego County. We also talk in our application instructions about different maps. One of those is the fishing map. So if you're a marine vessel, to kind of know where your marine engine operates, there's a link to that fishing block map, kind of showing what fishing blocks are considered San Diego waters. And then there's also a map that we link to on our materials for disadvantaged communities or low income communities. And that map that we link to shows if the project location would be within one of those communities or benefiting one of those communities. And if it did, then it could qualify for that clean air or community air protection program, those dollars. So Allison, I hope that answers your question.
And Heidi, I just wanted to piggyback on that a little bit and talk about GMERP, in that GMERP is a little different in that our GMERP program covers both San Diego County and Imperial County, just because that is part of the trade corridor. So if you're talking about on-road trucks that are goods moving, then we're also including Imperial County.
Thanks, Ben, for clarifying that. Let's see. So then we have a question from Ashley. On school buses, are schools only able to replace old diesel with a newer zero emission? Also, is infrastructure funding available for schools? So I think the question is, can you only go diesel to zero emission? I think that's the question. But so I think that you can go diesel to diesel. It's and there are certain circumstances, but you would still, yeah, but we do definitely offer the zero emission bus funding. And if there was an electric school bus, we would offer charging infrastructure grants also for school buses. Let's see, there's a question from Rebecca.
Just to clarify, so and if you're applying for infrastructure, just please make sure to apply as a separate application for the infrastructure, and then also apply for the school buses in however many applications you need for that. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Good point. Yes. So the application for infrastructure is separate. If you look down in the application process, it has a separate little circle that you would click. Rebecca had a question. SDG&E has a program for infrastructure for schools and fleets. Oh, she's providing a link for the participants to learn about the SDG&E program as well. Let's see. Alicia says, if I have 2 trucks that are not in the DOORS program, they are not eligible, correct? Alicia, I'm assuming the trucks are heavy duty trucks over that, was it? Yes, okay. And diesel, right, Alicia? The trucks are diesel we're talking about. Yeah, okay. I think that, I mean, you would need to probably contact CARB and see if they could get entered into the DOORS database. And then, you know, depending on how old they are, what kind of emissions they have, then they may or may not be able to be indoors. Ben, do you have anything to add on that question? If 2 trucks are not in the DOORS program, would they be eligible?
Just make sure you clarify with CARB whether I guess I don't know if these trucks are on road or whether they're off road. So off road is for DOORS, and then on road has truckers. So just
right.
make sure you're in the right database. But if you call CARB, I think on one of our slides here we had some information. They can certainly help point you in the right direction.
Right. Thank you.
And Heidi, I was thinking maybe we could take some phone call questions just so we can get some questions from them before we're out of time here.
Yes. Okay. And it looks like that's the last question in the chat. So, yeah, I guess now we can just have people unmute and then ask any remaining questions.
Right. So just as a reminder, and we'll try to do this in an orderly fashion, but there's no way for us to unmute you. So if you're calling in and you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself by pressing *6, and then we'll try to go ahead and take your questions one at a time here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, this is Jeff at Hawthorne Caterpillar. Yeah, I have a quick question for you. I saw that it looked like you had a discrepancy or difference between farmer and off-road Carl Moyer replacement. Can you elaborate on that? Do we have to do a different, for the ag rule, do we have to do a different, under a different contract? Or can we do agricultural equipment replacement under Carl Moyer?
Yeah, so agricultural equipment replacement can be either under farmer or Carl Moyer. So it's just people, when they apply, they just apply for the equipment. And then when we evaluate it, we put them in, whatever would be the whatever funding. So like we might have, for example, all the farmer funding has already been allocated. So then we have some more farm equipment that qualified. So we would just put them in the Moyer contract.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next question.
Once again, just to remind you, if you're calling in through the phone, just go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself, and we can go ahead and take your questions.
Okay. Any final questions?
Yeah, this is Tim. So preparing for the upcoming SD solicitation, that link there, I just screenshotted it and I typed it in and it says it's not good. Where would I actually get, where could I actually get a copy of that link? It's on the useful websites page of this
Oh, you're asking for the link to know the preparing for solicitation, like fact sheets kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, we link to it. It's on our website. So if you, I mean, I can just email it to you, but you can also.
Okay.
Timothy, I don't know if I have your email, but if you send me a message or call me, I can certainly send that to you. But if you go to the main website, APCD, and then you click on I want to, and then apply, and then equipment grants.
Okay.
And then you go over to popular services, which is on the right-hand side. The second box says preparing for an upcoming solicitation. And if you click on that, then that will be what you would need to see. So
Okay.
again, it's the air pollution control. Okay, you got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and Kathy just put the link in the chat as well. Thanks, Kathy.
Yeah, for some reason I don't know how to get to the chat. Somehow I don't know. I don't see it on my. I'm on my iPhone, so.
Oh, okay. Okay. So.
Okay. I'll just go to the website and get to it. That's fine.
Okay, I do see another question in the chat from Ashley. Can a school replace an older CNG with a newer CNG? Ben, do you know? I can't remember right now.
I'd have to look into that, but I mean, I certainly think you might be able to. It just might be a matter of how cost effective that will be. Yeah, because you're starting at a CNG emission standard and then you're moving to another CNG. So I think you can. I mean, please go ahead and follow up with one of us and we can certainly look more closely into the guidelines and see if that scenario works.
Okay, thank you. And then Eric is asking, is the application the same for all the different programs? Yes, it is the same application. As Ben showed in the slide, you go to the application, that online application, and then you would select the little radio button based on the type of equipment that you have. So, for example, off-road equipment, if you select that, if you had some off-road equipment, such as like a tractor, then we would consider that. If it's a farm tractor, we would consider it for, you know, the ag farmer program. We would also consider it for the Moyer program funding. I mean, if it was in a disadvantaged community, we would also consider it for the clean air, or the clean community air protection program funding. So yes. Same application.
And just to piggyback there real quick, the only thing where you would have to make sure you select the correct application is if you have an on-road vehicle, and whether you want to go goods movement route or you want to apply just for your standard clean air for all Moyer CAP type of program. And on our webpage, we should have a flow chart to help you decide or see which is a better fit. So, right, so there's heavy duty truck goods movement or just heavy duty truck, bus, and other on-road vehicle.
Yes, thanks for pointing that out, Ben. Okay, let's see. That's the last question I see in the chat, and I do not see anyone raising hands. Do we have any final questions? Okay. And again, if you think of some questions later, please reach out to us. And then Ben, we're gonna have the presentation on our website. You know, I think you said within a couple weeks, right? Or at some point.
I'm not sure when exactly we'll have them. I think within a couple of weeks is possible. But yes, so we're planning to post the slides on our website and then also a link to watch this webinar recording.
All right. You're welcome. You're welcome, guys. All right. Well, I think that we don't have any more questions at this time. Oh, wait. Sorry, there's someone raising hands. Michael, are you raising your hand? Michael Bolin? Michael, do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you. I was going to send a message of thanks, so that's all.
Okay, you're welcome. I'm glad everyone could join and, make use of the new technology that we have here. So that's great to see. All right, well, Ben, I think probably this concludes the presentation.
Thank you, Heidi. Yeah, this has been great. Thank you again for tuning in. And as I mentioned earlier, we should have the slides and also the recording of this webinar up on our webpage shortly. So stay tuned for that. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to email our general grants line or any one of the 5 individuals listed here, or leave us a voicemail and we'll go ahead and get back to you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a good day.
Bye.